For most of history, soldiers fought for loyalty to kings, lords, or dynasties. Wars were personal. They were about honor, duty, and belief. But then something changed. Money showed up, and it rewrote the rules. Soldiers no longer fought because they had to. They fought because they were paid. Once war became a service, it became a business. And once that happened, everything changed. To understand this revolution, we have to start at the beginning. In medieval Europe, armies were tied to feudal loyalty. Nobles owed their king a few months of service a year. Peasants were levied only temporarily, with little training. These armies worked, but only for small, local wars. As kingdoms grew richer and conflicts lasted longer, these armies failed. Loyalty expired. Soldiers went home. Wars dragged on. Borders were exposed. Cities and trade routes needed protection. And money offered the solution. Cash economies allowed rulers to hire soldiers directly. Mercenaries were professional, trained year-round, and ready to fight anytime. The Italian city-states, Florence, Venice, Milan became the laboratories of this change. Merchants and bankers had money but not manpower. They outsourced violence. Enter the condottieri mercenary commanders, who ran armies like businesses. Contracts, or condot, specified pay, duration, troop numbers, and even acceptable risks. Soldiers were assets, not pawns of loyalty. This financial logic changed everything. Battles became calculated. Sieges replaced reckless slaughter. An army was more valuable alive than dead. Soldiers fought because it was their job, not because of honor or ideology. Loyalty became flexible. Mercenaries switched sides when a better offer appeared. Some prolonged wars deliberately to keep demand high. Wars were no longer just fights. They were profit-driven operations. As armies became mercenary, states had to adapt. Power no longer rested on loyalty alone. It depended on money. Whoever could pay fought. Whoever couldn't lost, no matter how righteous their cause. Gold became more important than crowns. Governments raised taxes, borrowed money, and built financial systems to sustain armies. War became an accounting problem first, strategy second. By the early modern period, rulers realized the danger of relying on high mercenaries could turn, rebel, or abandon the battlefield. The solution: standing armies. Soldiers were now permanent employees, paid regularly, and loyalty was enforced through bureaucracy and discipline. The mercenary logic didn't disappear. It was absorbed by the state. Soldiers still fought for pay. The difference was who wrote the checks. Permanent armies locked governments into continuous financial obligations. Wars had to be funded in peace and conflict. Britain dominated Europe, not by larger armies, but by the most advanced financial system: long-term debt, centralized taxation, reliable credit. France learned the hard way. Armies without solvency led to revolution. War was now less about courage, more about cash flow. In the 20th century, nationalism and conscription masked economics. Citizens fought for flags, but soldiers were still compensated. Weapons were produced by contractors. Logistics were outsourced. Then, private military companies, PMCs, appeared. Modern condottieri, with invoices instead of swords. They supply combat, training, and security. Wars became modular services, deployed and billable. The mercenary principle still rules. Violence is a service. Contracts dictate scope. Responsibility is diffuse. Casualties are classified. When money controls violence, wars become easier to start and harder to end. Leaders face fewer domestic consequences. Peace is bad for business. Instability becomes profitable. Modern conflicts distort markets. Defense spending rises. Inflation follows. Debt grows. Civilians pay through taxes. Lost opportunities and destruction. Those with contracts profit. Remove the uniforms, the flags, and the rhetoric. The math is simple. Whoever controls the money controls the violence. Whoever controls the violence shapes the system. This isn't about ethics. It's about incentives. Soldiers fight when they're paid. Armies move when budgets allow. Peace only happens when it's cheaper than war. Oversight costs money. Stability lasts only as long as it's affordable. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. The moment soldiers stopped fighting for kings and started fighting for gold, war stopped being an exception and became a feature. The mercenary logic persists in our world today in PMCs, in proxy wars, in the economics of conflict. Understanding this is key to understanding not just history, but modern geopolitics. So next time you hear about a war, ask, who's paying and who profits? Not every battle is fought for honor, ideology, or nation. Many are fought for balance sheets. That's the mercenary revolution, and it's still running today. If this changed how you see history, hit subscribe. History has answers, if you know where to look.